Hey, what's up, gang? So if you notice behind me, and if you watched my older videos, you may know where I am. My old room, back home, which is cool, but it also means that I have to be holding the mic, which isn't cool. You know what else isn't cool? The MCU, apparently. Man, MCU sucks. What a hot take that I just took right there. Please like and subscribe for more hot takes just like this one. I'm kind of tired of this whole, the MCU sucks, argument and discussion. Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad recently, but it's not anywhere near as bad as, the Squad. Or sorry, it's just Squad. The Squad's the good one. My bad. It's not as bad as Squad. Or that Pizzeria movie with Hayden Christensen. And on the topic of Star Wars, every single MCU movie is better than the sequel trilogy. I am a prequel head, and I will take that to the grave. But there's been a lot of good that's come out of the MCU post-Endgame. I mean, there's Loki is really good, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, all of the Spider-Man stuff. I mean, it's all been pretty good. And I mean, there was some absolute dog shit that came out pre-Endgame too, remember Ant-Man and the Wasp? I bet you don't. It wasn't good. But what this is all trying to get around to saying is that I don't hate the MCU. I am a comic fan. I am fully ready for them to scoop up the dog shit and put it into my mouth. I'm ready for my filth. What I'm here to talk about is the character that I feel has been mistreated the most throughout the entire MCU. I'm talking about from the start to now. Completely mistreated, completely misused, and that would be Thor. Thor is really cool. He has some really badass thunder powers, and here's a little thing about me, thunder, lightning, electric powers are some of my favorite powers ever. I think they really allow for some really cool visuals and all that. So I always enjoy those powers and the characters that go with those powers. And he's played by Chris Hemsworth, a really jacked blonde guy. What's more to love? Thor has 4 movies in the MCU that he is the star in. One of them's pretty good. One of them's and then 2 are dog shit. But to fully understand what I'm talking about, let's talk about the original Thor from 2011. Wait a minute. You don't think I was gonna let you go on to the rest of the video without shilling? I love shilling. It's my favorite thing. What am I shilling about today? Well, it's me. Please subscribe. So, in my opinion, the cool thing about Thor, especially early on in the MCU, I mean, he's the 4th movie, is that he's not from Earth. Some of his best adventures aren't even on frickin' Earth, They're up in Asgard and all, Midgard and all that. And I think that's really cool part of Thor and his character, especially in the MCU, because at the time, not very normal. So, of course, you have this character who's not from Earth, they're from Asgard. There's a lot of really cool things we could explore up there, but no. The most of the movie takes place on Earth, of course. Why wouldn't it? Alright, also, I know I'm coming in with a very common and basic bitch complaint that you'll probably hear as the complaint for this movie that every single human on this planet has ever had. But, the Dutch angles, man, they're, the first time I watched this movie, I didn't really notice it too much, but, if you ever go back and rewatch it, or even just watch, clips from it, it kind of gives you a headache. The Dutch angles are just, absolutely insane. Imagine this entire video, but I'm just this the entire time. I mean, it probably isn't that bad, because the whole background would be, too, but, But, my main problem with this movie is what the fuck happens in Thor 1? what happens? Like, I think he gets like, he's not worthy, so he goes to Earth, and then a robot comes from an Asgardian robot comes, so Thor becomes worthy again and beats the robot. I think that's it. What else happened in this movie? Like, I think that Loki is technically the main villain, but I could not tell you what Loki did in that entire movie. I don't remember. I hardly remember him in it. I remember him in like the first scene, and that was it. It's just a very forgettable movie, and I think it's really bad when you have like such cool characters like Loki and Thor, and like, I don't remember what they did in their own goddamn movie. And I'm calling it their movie because pretty much every single one of these freaking things are the Loki and Thor show. So, like, I'm pretty sure that the only reason this movie exists is set up for the Avengers, and it's just to set up Loki. That's it. Because you don't really need to be setting up Thor in this movie. Honestly, you could skip Thor 1 and like just have his first appearance be in Avengers, and that would be probably a better first appearance than his actual first movie, which is kind of bad. Like, I mean, it's kind of sad, right? Like, the only redeeming quality about the movie is that it sets up Thor and Loki for Avengers. And it doesn't even really need to. That's like the only redeeming quality. Oh, and Thor gets mad at a cup. Can't forget that. That was awesome. Okay, so I know that Thor: The Dark World was considered to be the worst MCU movie for a very, very, very long time. Pre-Endgame, this was the worst one. And you know what? It wasn't that bad. I don't know. I think it was a little overrated. Like, yeah, pretty much my only complaint with Thor: The Dark World is the main villain. The elf guy, who... Does he have a name? Doesn't it matter what his name is? He's an elf guy. A space elf guy, for some reason. And that's all you really need to know. But yeah, the main villain of the movie is lame. Really lame. But everything else in this movie is awesome. Like, I mean, we have a Thor who's superpowered the entire time through, which, for me, good job. But then we also have, if we actually look at the characters, we have really good moments between Thor and Loki. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, Loki dies. Oh. But then he's like, later brought back to life. But whatever. But he's dead. And it was really emotional. Because I think he like died in Thor's arms. Very emotional. And then there's some really good scenes with, like, Thor's mom. She hits the bucket too. And that was really emotional as well. So there's a lot of emotional scenes going on between a lot of really good characters. There's a lot of really good Loki scenes, a lot of really good Thor and Jane scenes, a lot of really good Thor's mom scenes. There's some really good character work going on in this movie. It just really sucks that the main villain was like poopy doopy, and that just made everyone hate the movie. Because other than that, not that bad. Like, to be completely honest, I prefer Thor: The Dark World over Thor 1. Like, any day of the week, I would rather go watch The Dark World than Thor 1. I also feel this may be a good time to bring up Jane Foster's sidekicks. They're awesome. And this is the last time that they show up. They always serve for a good little chuckle every now and again. And I don't know if they showed up since this movie. I mean, Jane has. I think Jane's like friend showed up in WandaVision. Or am I misremembering? I don't remember. Maybe I'll put it up here. Now, before we talk about the good one, I feel we should also talk about What If. Now you may be thinking, what if that's not Thor? But it is Thor, because Thor was the worst episode. Party Thor is the worst What If episode. And I think that kind of goes to show how Marvel mistreats their Thor, in the fact that he got the worst What If episode. And he's also the most annoying What If Avenger too. Just annoying. Alrighty guys, get ready for the most original take of the century. Thor Ragnarok is good. But yeah, all jokes aside, it's the best one. Finally Thor is off Earth for most of the movie. There's like a couple scenes on Earth, but they're really good scenes, really emotional. So we're gonna let those pass. But the rest of the movie, he's doing big fun space adventures, which is really cool. Yeah, I remember when I first watched this, I was not expecting a Planet Hulk adaptation. But I'm all for it. Planet Hulk's freaking awesome. Thor and Loki were actually like a comedic duo the entire movie, and Hulk was really funny as well. Hashtag bring back funny Hulk. Now, you may be screaming at your screen, but bad dork, Thor didn't really have any powers for most of the movie, except for like super strength, but no electric powers. You said you like electric powers. The final fight. Peak Marvel. It's not peak Marvel, there's been better. But peak. But like genuinely, like Thor's badass mode, I like to call it, that really only showed up in Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame, I think, is like my favorite MCU power. I'm calling it a power. The badass power is a power, and it's a power that he has, and it's my favorite. I mean, Thor's character arc in this one was actually like really good, and it even like bled into Infinity War and Endgame, which is really cool, because it's made by completely different people, and it works really well. Thor Ragnarok is just good. Hela is good. See, I can actually remember the villain's name, but she was really good, really strong, really badass. Valkyrie was pretty good too. Now, we're not gonna really talk about Thor and Infinity War. I don't really got that much to say, just that he was just really fucking cool throughout the entire movie. He was just really fucking cool. But what we're actually going to talk about is Thor in Endgame. Thor in Endgame shows us both sides of the character, and then a good like in between, right? Because he starts the movie by being really like stoic and badass, which is one part of the character, like just being a badass. And then it showed him being goofy fun time little goofy ball playing Fortnite. And that's also another part of his character, but then in the final battle you kind of meld them together and you get funny goofball badass Thor, which is really cool. But like with Goofy 4, for like the Thanos fight that is to come, he had to kind of like snap back to reality, oh there goes gravity, and kind of get back into that little like medium range so that he's able to go fight Thanos and save everyone, which was a really cool like mini character arc that they had going on. We talked about peak Marvel like earlier, but this is actually peak Marvel. The trio versus Thanos fight. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor all teaming up to fight Thanos, and it was really cool. It was peak. But I don't know, maybe this is just me, but it kind of looked like Thor was like struggling the entire time, which would have been really cool if they took that idea into Thor Love and Thunder. Now we have to talk about Thor Love and Thunder. Wasted opportunity, that is the word of the day. Not only with Thor and his characterization, but also Gore, the God Butcher, killed like 3 gods and then lost. So not really a God Butcher, more of a Gore. He killed a couple of guys. But what I'm mainly going to talk about with Thor Love and Thunder is not actually the movie, but what they should have done. Now see, I don't really like to come in here and say like what they should have done or that my idea is better. Except for Thor Love and Thunder, I do truly think that anyone else on this entire planet could have written a better movie than what we got. So I am going to say what they should have done, because I mean it's low-hanging fruit, you know. So imagine, right, we have fat Thor traveling the galaxy with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're doing a bunch of things, but he kind of keeps fucking up because he's not really used to being in the body that he is. He's used to being ripped and super strong, and now he's just a big fat guy, and he's not used to that. Ain't nothing wrong with that either. I'm going to belly myself, but it's not what he's used to, so he's kind of messing up a lot, and he's feeling really down on himself. And so eventually the Guardians of the Galaxy are kind of tired of his shit, and they leave him behind. On this planet, he goes wandering around, and he finds out about, like, that their god was just killed. Like, a god on their planet was just killed, and he goes, checks out, like, the scene of the wreckage, and it's just, everything's just fucking destroyed. There's just this huge god, like, kind of maybe what the big god they had in the movie is just there. Everything around is, like, destroyed. The people are, like, in ruin. Like, they're crying, they're mourning, they're all sad. This starts to scare Thor, because someone's like, he's like, oh, like a god just got like butchered, like a god like in his prime. He's not in his prime. This is scary to him. Thor's not only doubting himself in this moment, but he's also like super scared for his life. And so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to New Asgard, back home. I'm gonna try to like reclaim myself and like, you know, try to get back in the right headspace. But when he arrives, Sith is like, yo, Thor, there's this guy named Gore, and he's butchering some gods. We gotta do something. And so we could, and then there'd be like a little like montage of them like going to a bunch of different planets, or you could draw it out, whatever. And a bunch of different planets. And we see like the devastation that follows Gore. And we see more than like 3 gods dead. We see a bunch of them. He's butchering these fuckers. Then we return back to New Asgard, and maybe some other things can happen, but Gore shows up to kill Thor. And they have this fight, and Thor, he gets his ass whipped. He gets his ass handed to him on a silver platter, but is saved last second by Jane Foster. And so now we have like this Thor is literally seeing a mightier, a better, a more worthy Thor who just saved him from almost dying to the God Butcher. And this like really starts to fuck with Thor. Gore can do like the whole like kidnapping kids thing still to like lure Thor to go like chase after him and to like actually finally kill him. So then they like the Asgardians, like they're all going in a big party to go save the kids. They bring Jane Foster with them, and they're like, no, Thor, you stay behind. And Thor is like, Then like the rest of the movie would play out. Like we would have Thor, he fights his demons. We could probably just do that like spiritually. He fights his demons, and then he goes and he like with his new refound confidence, he beats Gore. He proves that he is still worthy, that like even though he's like this, he's still like the Thor Odinson, and he's still worthy, and he is still Thor, the god of thunder. And then like, yeah, Jane can die or whatever. I don't really think Jane should die in this movie. I think it should be later, but if you wanted to have that, then whatever. And then, you know, the whole thing with like Gore's daughter, like Thor like kind of like adopting her, that's really cool. I did think that was pretty cool. And so, because, you know, to be fair, we need Rip Thor back. So probably like at the end, like post-credit or at the very end of the movie, we can have like kind of like the montage that they kind of had at the end of the movie, but like it's like of Thor and his daughter, and then or his new like adopted daughter, and then he's like loses all that weight or whatever, and then the last shot is like the fit Thor and like child Thor. I don't know what she's called. But yeah, that's like my basic idea. It's really better than what we got. Anything is really better. So yeah, now we'll actually talk about Love and Thunder. Me when OBS cuts out the last like 10 minutes of my recording. Anyways, like I was talking about before, yeah, Love and Thunder sucks. It's terrible characters, terrible story, terrible villain, terrible everything. They ripped away all the character development from the past 3 movies. It was just embarrassing, really. Like, I don't know how you managed it, but they somehow made Thor not cool. I don't know how you managed to make Thor not cool. It's so easy. Just look at the last however many movies in the MCU he was. Look at every single one of his cartoon appearances. It's not hard to make Thor cool. It's actually surprisingly easy and not that difficult. Like, this might sound a bit harsh, but I really, really hope that Taika Waititi is taken off of the next Thor movie. I just hope he's not a part of it. He's not directing it. I don't think he can take the character seriously enough. I don't think... Yeah, Ragnarok was good, but Love and Thunder is genuinely just, like, ruins everything. Like, I don't know. If you make Thor just a big dumb goofball instead of cool, you don't deserve to be on Thor. That's just my opinion. I think it's a one strike and you're out type of thing. I don't want to see another movie like Love and Thunder, so I don't want him on the next one. That's just my opinion. Like, hopefully the next like Thor or Avengers or whatever he appears in can hopefully try to fix the mistakes that were in Love and Thunder, because I think Thor really doesn't deserve this treatment, which I think you might understand why I feel that. But I've gone on long enough. I think I've proved my point that Thor is one of the most like misused, mistreated characters in the MCU, even more than like Ant-Man, who's been treated pretty badly, Captain Marvel, who's been treated pretty badly. I think Thor is genuinely the worst, or the most egregious mistreating and mishandling in the MCU. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel and the video, and leave a comment below of what your thoughts on Thor is, or any video ideas that you might have for me to make. I try to make anything nerdy. We've been in a Marvel rut for a bit. Not by design. It's the only videos that I have. I really want to do a fantasy video. That probably won't be the next video, but will be an upcoming video. Will be like about a fantasy property, like, you know, Witcher, Lord of the Rings, something like that. You know, Game of Thrones. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.